and that was when the world ended. Hello there, beautiful humans. My name is RidersDX, and welcome to yet another rendition of Late Night Riders, the one talk show that takes place in the bedroom. So let's get straight into the meat of this video, which is my cover of the Crash 4 theme song. Just kidding. Maybe. But we are talking about Crash Bandicoot 4 again, and more specifically on a small news tidbit that kind of blew up the community this past week. We're going to talk about Crash 4 in terms of how it's performing, and along with that, how I feel about the game overall after I've had some time to play it. But the chaos that ensued last week all started when this website called gamesindustry.biz released an article talking about the sales of video games within the past week in the United Kingdom. We did get some good news with this article. It showed that Activision's Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time did manage to beat EA Star Wars Squadrons to #1 this week, with just 1,000 box sales separating the two games. However, there was one bombshell that was left in the article that got a lot of Crash Bandicoot fans very concerned, and that bombshell was the fact that Crash 4's launch sales are 80% lower than that of the Insane trilogy, and that was when the world ended. Needless to say, 80% is a pretty dramatic number, you know, whether it be a good thing or a bad thing, and in this case, it being a bad thing. There were tons of comments that I saw on Twitter about this news. There were some YouTubers that even made videos about it. Basically, fans have either concluded that Crash Bandicoot 4 is a commercial flop, or that people are assholes for even thinking that this might be indicative of the game's overall performance. Point is, everyone basically has their emotional shields up, and I think we need to strike them down to really assess what this piece of news means and if it really means anything. A couple of things I did want to mention though is that 1, this is from the United Kingdom, so it doesn't account for worldwide sales. 2, this chart looks specifically at physical sales, and so we have no idea how Crash Bandicoot 4 might have done digitally. And as you all know, we are in a pandemic at the moment, and I saw this really great Twitter post from Canadian guy Ed that shows just how much more digital sales are prominent now compared to before because of the pandemic. But nonetheless, the way that I approach these topics is I look at both sides of the argument, and so I see a lot of reasons as to why these sales numbers might not be that indicative of the game's overall performance, but I also want to analyze, you know, maybe it is, and maybe there's a reason why this game isn't selling as well as the Insane trilogy did. What we're gonna do now is actually take a look at the promotional campaign of Crash Bandicoot 4 and kind of see if anything during these months leading up to the game's release might have caused the game to not sell as well as it could have. First of all, when Crash Bandicoot was finally reviewed, it was after months of speculation and rumors and leaks that basically confirmed the existence of this game. But man, I'll never forget when that trailer first came out during that live stream. Everything about the game just looked absolutely incredible, from the gameplay, the graphics, the storyline that it inferred, and of course the iconic song that was used in the trailer. Right about now, the funk's so rubber, check it out now. The funk's so rubber, right about now. The funk's so rubber, check it out. And from then on out, it was kind of hard to get through the internet, at least within my little world, without seeing some piece of news about Crash Bandicoot 4 almost every single week. The promotional campaign for this game was very strong, with lots of information being rolled out at a pretty satisfactory pace. And I will say the marketing of this game, and this might get some people mad at me, but I'm just gonna say it because it's totally true, the marketing of this game was very nostalgia bait-like. Because first of all, we gotta look at the title of the game. The title of the game alone kind of tells you what they're trying to go for with this game. I don't want to say leech, but that's basically what they did here. They really tried to leech off of the popularity of the Insane trilogy and kind of tout this game as a continuation of the Crash Insane trilogy, because it is. I mean, the marketing was all about advertising the fact that this had the classic gameplay that you all came to love. Lore-wise, this game was a continuation of the first 3 games. Everything about this game was basically like, I guess, the Crash Bandicoot version of Sonic Mania. And we all know Sonic Mania was insanely successful for the Sonic franchise. And so really, I think Activision came from a pretty strategic place in terms of marketing this game. Sure, it was still advertised as a brand new adventure, but they definitely tried their best to link it as closely to the Insane trilogy as much as they could, which I don't blame them for, because this is the first Crash Bandicoot game we've had in almost a decade, and so it makes sense that you want to make sure this game was successful in any way you could. Also, I will say the marketing of this game was very positive. There was not much negative press that came out for this game. I think the closest we had to like a controversy of this game was the whole microtransaction fiasco, and when that started spreading around like wildfire, Toys for Bob came out immediately to shut it down. And not only did they shut it down that one time, but they kept repeating it over and over again in countless interviews afterwards. And so they wanted to make sure that the campaign for this game was squeaky clean and that nothing negative was going to get in the game's way of selling well. I mean, the campaign was so clean that I'm pretty sure it gives Sheldon Cooper a run for his money, because like, wow, you could not have had a more perfect way of rolling out a game. And so what I'm saying here is that Activision did everything logic-wise that was perfect for this game. No controversies, the press only said good things about the game based off of impressions, the trailers, the music, and everything really just hyped this game up. Everything about this campaign was essentially perfect, and I think Activision should actually be commended for marketing this game so well. So if we're to say that the promotional campaign was perfect, then why is there still a possibility that this game might not sell anywhere near as well as the Insane Trilogy? Well, this is a possibility that really does pain me, but nonetheless might make sense. It's the fact that platformers in 2020 might not still be a hot topic yet. You folks know me, I love platformers. It's my favorite type of game of all time, and I talk about nothing but platformers on this channel. But I'd be lying if I said that platformers were the most popular type of game to play at the very moment. They just aren't, and I don't know if there's ever going to be a time where they will be. From the surge of FPS shooters to action role-playing games, and now from what I can tell, online multiplayer games, there just always seems to be a different kind of game taking the spotlight. And I think platformers really had their golden age in the 90s when you couldn't go anywhere without seeing like a Mario commercial or like a Sonic game or like Crash Bandicoot screaming at the Nintendo headquarters. You know, platformers were at their height in the 90s, and I think it's going to be really hard to really expect there to be another golden age of them in the near future, but I mean, who knows, I guess. But you might be saying, well, Riders, what about the Insane Trilogy or the Reignited Trilogy or even Battlefield Bikini Bottom Rehydrated? You know, all these platformers are coming out all of a sudden and doing so well. The thing about these platformers is that they're remakes. And so the platformer genre is kind of in a weird phase right now where the games that are getting hyped up the most are actually games that are recreations of old things. And so it's kind of weird because it's like saying that for a platformer to do well, it has to be dunked in this bucket of infinite nostalgia, using wrinkled but priceless memories to put a fresh coat of paint on a franchise. Remakes just have this factor to them that brand newer games like Crash Bandicoot 4 are simply not going to have, which is the idea of making something old feel new again. I'm not sure why the ideas of remakes are so appealing. I mean, I'm just sitting here thinking about all the remakes that I would love to see, you know, like Sonic Adventure, Sonic Adventure 2, Super Mario 64, the Rayman games. Banjo-Kazooie is a huge one, you know? I would love to see more and more remakes, but it's kind of weird because that almost feels more exciting than like a brand new game, because it's like, I guess with an old game, it's like you already know you're gonna like it, and you also feel very good that something you loved as a child is going to come back and get even more fans. And so I guess that idea has always been so appealing. I mean, I guess that's why I was so into covering Battlefield Bikini Bottom Rehydrated, because that was a childhood favorite, and I was so excited at the prospect of new players getting into the game. So maybe we're still riding this era for platformers, especially since so many more people are asking for remakes than they ever have before. And so maybe we have a little bit longer to ride out this trend, but hopefully we get to a point where people actually do want to see brand new games from these franchises. So with that being said, how is Crash Bandicoot 4 then going to ultimately perform? Well, let me just say before I answer this question that from a quality standpoint, Crash Bandicoot 4 is an awesome game. The levels feel both fresh and new at the same time. It maintains that addictive linear quality of the original games, but it also opens them up with more platforming challenges and level gimmicks. The masks in particular are the best innovation this game has to offer. They add a huge element as to how you need to traverse each level and keep the gameplay feeling fresh and innovative. It actually can be quite a challenge when you get to one of these masks and you kind of have to change your strategy in terms of how you traverse the level, because you're basically working with slightly different controls and having to get used to them after platforming as just a regular Crash Bandicoot so far up to this point. And so I think it adds a very fresh perspective to the game. It really makes it so that the game never feels boring to me. There's always something different coming at me from a different angle. It's very similar as to how I felt with Super Mario Odyssey when I'd have a brand new creature I could put my hat on, because that would give me a new ability and I had to get used to using that ability to traverse through the level. So I feel like Crash Bandicoot 4 does a pretty similar thing, but it's just as effective. The game is also as gorgeous as can be, literally just amounting to virtual paintings. I love how wacky the art style is in particular, as they really honed in on the Looney Tunes aesthetic that helped conjure up Crash in the first place. There's just so many personality packed into the environments and character expressions, truly expressing Crash's zany behavior. I mean, I always looked at Crash as a very zany and wacky character, but I really do feel like Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time really takes advantage of that and really dives into it, and I was really satisfied with the overall production of this game. I feel like the only real critique I've been seeing of this game so far is just on its difficulty. There's a lot of people saying that they feel like this game is very unfair and cheap, and I'm still kind of figuring that out. I haven't actually played all the levels yet, and so I'm trying to figure out if I really do agree or disagree with that. I do agree that there are some levels that feel pretty cheap and you just are dying constantly to try to get through it, but at the same time I feel like the game employs a lot of things that makes it so that dying isn't the end of the world, and that it's okay if you're not able to get through the game on a certain amount of lives. But if you all want an actual video about how I feel about the game's difficulty, then let me know in the comment section below, because I think it's a pretty hot topic. I'd be interested in talking about it, but I feel like I've made so many Crash Bandicoot 4 videos at this point that I don't want to overstay my welcome, I guess, if no one's interested in it. So just let me know. So my thoughts about Crash Bandicoot 4 are extremely positive, and I'm so glad I got to play this game. I'm so glad I got to live in an age where a brand new Crash Bandicoot game was finally made. But what does this mean for the game's performance? I ultimately think that this game is going to end up doing well. Like I said, those sales are not indicative of the digital performance, and so I think digital wise this game is going to fare a lot better, and so I think we can expect some better numbers. I don't think it's going to live up to the Insane Trilogy, but to be honest, the Insane Trilogy sold over 10 billion copies and is the best selling game in the franchise. There's no way this game was ever going to get anywhere close to that. I mean, the Insane Trilogy was just a phenomenon because not only did it bring back Crash, but it also started this whole wave of remakes and nostalgia pandering that we're in right now. The Insane Trilogy kind of went above the Crash franchise, and that's really awesome. But Crash Bandicoot 4 feels like it's something that's going to stick very strictly in the franchise, and that's totally fine. I think word of mouth of how great this game is going to keep circulating around and kind of keep this game interesting for people to play throughout the months. And also I think this game has a lot of reasons to speedrun, and so I think a speedrun community is going to grow with this game and really help keep the game alive for years to come. Combined with the surge in platforms that we've been seeing, and I only anticipate growing from here on out, I think Crash Bandicoot 4 will be fine. I don't know if we're going to get another Crash game with as big of a budget as this one in the near future, but I really don't think you need a huge budget to make a great Crash Bandicoot game. I think you just need to make sure you give it to developers that are passionate about this game and want it to be great. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. What do you think about the news about Crash Bandicoot 4 sales? Are you nervous? Are you not worried? Let me know why or why not, and also give me your thoughts about Crash Bandicoot 4 overall. Have you played it? If so, what do you think of it? I really love to hear your thoughts. I really have been enjoying it, and you know, I can't stop playing it. It's such a fun game. I really wish I didn't work full time, because otherwise I'd probably be playing the game a lot more than I am right now. But now that that's out of the way, here is the moment that you, my friend, have been waiting for. Here is my cover of the Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time trailer song. A 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4. Thank you so much for watching this video. Special shout out to the Nerd Corner, Killer Lemurs, Team Ride with Sign Gamer, Johnny Hinton Ortiz, Trash Q, Abraham Muter, and Mass Muter. These are my patrons / YouTube members. If you'd like to become a patron or YouTube member and get access to a whole bunch of different perks, then please check out the links in the description box below. But alright, this is Riders, riding out.